So this midterm season, several congressional races are flipping the script on Democrat strongholds. One of those is California's 40th congressional race, where Representative Young Kim is favored to beat Democrat Dr. Asif Mahmood. The district includes the very wealthy Orange County just outside of Los Angeles. Joining me now is Congresswoman Young Kim. Welcome, Congresswoman.
Thank you for having me, Kayleigh. Good to see you.
Good to see you. I had the honor of meeting you about a month ago when I was out in California, and you were just so impressive. If I could just brag on you for a moment so our viewers know, you ran in California's 39th district. You won. But this is so impressive. This was a lean Democrat race, so it had been essentially written off by 538. You had a 26% chance of winning. This was in 2020. And Biden carried your district by 10 percentage points, and yet you won the seat. How did you do it?
Well, first of all, when you stick to the issues and meet people talking about the issues that they care about, listening to them is important. And then talk about how you're going to address those issues. It really resonated with them. I'm really glad that I was able to win in a district where Joe Biden carried by 10 percentage points. But as you know, I'm running for re-election in the newly created district. This is where Joe Biden won by 2 percentage points also. So I don't take anything lightly. I'm continuing to work hard, as I've done for very first time I ran for any office, whether it was in 2014 for my state assembly. At that time, I also ran against well-funded sitting incumbent, and I also won. And so if you put your hard work into it and stay focused, you can do this. So my team and I are knocking on doors and making those calls every single day, trying to get through the issues that they care about. It's the cost of living. It's the people frustrated about paying more for less. They're talking about gas prices. They're talking about rise in retail organized crimes. We're talking about inflation. These are the issues that I'm focusing on. That's how I won last time. That's how I'm going to win again this time.
You said your number one top legislative priority would be to slow inflation. You voted against the so-called Inflation Reduction Act. It would not reduce inflation. The Wharton School has put that out. What is your plan for reducing inflation? I realize Congress is limited when you don't have the White House as well.
Well, we can talk about it, and I already have a proposal in place. Again, it's laughable when Joe Biden gets on main television interviews and says the inflation went up by only 0.1% from the last month. So let's look at it relatively speaking. Oh, come on. Is he out of touch? Yes, he is. Inflation is in the highest in over 40 years. So I introduced combating painful inflation so that our administration and Congress can address the issue of how high inflation is affecting our average, Americans. And now I'm teaming up with my colleagues in Congress, like with Mike Garcia. We introduced Inflation Prevention Act. Unlike the Democrats' Inflation Expansion Act, of course, I didn't vote for that. But what our bill does, Inflation Prevention Act, tells Congress not to pass any more bills that will add to inflation until year-over-year rate drops below 4.5%. That is a common sense solution. That's something we can do during the hard times. We all tighten our belts and we try to work through the crisis together, pouring more money and spending more money. And when you run out of money, you print more to give more. That is not going to address the crisis and solve the inflation that we're facing today.
Well, you're clearly a go-getter. What I love is you actually put forward bills. You put forward new ideas. There are smash and grabs all across California. We've seen the images. Yes. They're startling to watch. But rather than just sitting there and talking about it, you actually put forward the Improving Federal Investigations of Organized Retail Crime Act. If you could tell us a little bit about that, how you're working on the federal level to stop the crime in your district.
So during the last few months in my district, we have several jewelry shops in the Brea Mall and also in the city of Yorba Linda. These jewelry shops were broken into. Now, I went to go visit with them, and as I was visiting with them, I'm hearing another story about another store being broken into, and they're being victimized by the rise in organized retail crime. And so when I went to visit with the jewelry shoppers and the owners there, they said now they they have to change the whole idea of how they do the business. For example, they're using plastic instead of glass for their showcase cases.
Wow.
And now they're showing the jewelry, the rings and necklace, all of that is made out of a cheap metal instead of the real diamonds and so forth. And then they're keeping the real valuable items in a storage someplace else, paying extra money for those storage. Now, this is how they're doing. And when I asked them, what have you been doing, and there have been any updates on these crimes that you reported, they said they were frustrated. The local law enforcement agencies are saying their hands are tied because there is no coordination with the federal, state, county, and local law enforcement agencies when the retailers are making these reports. So I introduced that legislation after hearing these stories and said we have to have a better coordination, and information sharing has to be easier so we can put those criminals, apprehend them, and put them behind bars.
Congresswoman, final question. I only have a few moments here, but you were among the first 3 Korean Americans ever elected to Congress. And currently, I'm so proud that we can say this. In 2018, there were 18 women in Congress on the Republican side. 2020, 20. There were 20 women, you among them, that went into Congress. But this year, it's estimated that possibly 40 GOP women, yourself included, going to Congress. How does that feel? Finally, we see women thriving in the party.
That makes me feel so good. You know, we are faced with the issue, the crisis after crisis that we've seen under this Biden administration and under Nancy Pelosi's one-party rule dominant Congress. People are fed up. And so we are, as I walk around and as I talk to the constituents and as I talk to Californians and Americans, they're worried about these key issues that they created. So I always say, you know, Republican Party is the grand opportunity party that gave people like me, an immigrant from South Korea, an opportunity to succeed. Who would have thought that I would be here 40-some years later, that I'm walking in the halls of Congress as one of the only 2, I must say, Asian American Republican women. And I'm among one of those few Republican women serving in Congress. Now, when we get about 40, even more, elected to Congress this year, I know our voices will be amplified. So the Republican Party is just attracting more minorities like me, immigrants like me, and more importantly, we are a big tent that we can talk about our issues with the common sense solutions that I have put forward. Like I said, when we identify issues, we try to find solutions. There are more things that will unite us if we can work together. And Republican Party has done that. And I think that's why there are more people being attracted to join us in the Republican Party. And so, like I said, Republican Party is the opportunity party, the grand opportunity party.
Well said. Congresswoman, it was an honor to meet you last month and great to have you today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good luck with your pregnancy and the baby coming.
Thank you. Yes, he'll be here in a month. Thank you so much, Congresswoman.